And as soon as you get your materials, make sure to number your paragraphs as I've done here. So it will be easier for you to move from, navigate between paragraphs. Okay. All right. So let's start today's session. Today we have got a really good material and really good questions. So let's start with the first question for today. Here we go. Right. Okay. Blessy, can you unmute yourself and read the first question for me, please? This one.
In the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain why.
So I want all of you to read the question. Do not look at the options yet. Read the question. Tell me exactly what should we figure out here. All of you.
What is the writer's purpose?
Is that it? Is that it? Take a second. Read the question carefully. So the question is from the first paragraph. In the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain why. So are we trying to figure out the writer's purpose, or what exactly are we trying to figure out? Smita, Saina, Jyoti, Blessy, go through the question. Chinu, Teresa, others go through the question. Take a second.
Why he is explaining that purpose?
Exactly, exactly. So we know there is a purpose here. There is a purpose. The writer has a purpose, and it is to explain what. So in the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain what. So we need to figure out, according to the first paragraph, the writer's purpose. Writer has a purpose, and the purpose is to explain what. Writer's purpose is to explain. So through his purpose, the writer is trying to explain something. Is to explain the reason for what. Is trying to explain the reason for something. We need to figure out what is that. The writer's purpose is to explain the reason for what. All of you read that question. We are not trying to figure out the exact purpose, rather we know the writer's purpose is explaining the reason for something. So we need to find out the reason for what. Okay, all of you, Nivya, Shinu, Blessy, Jyoti, Saina, Teresa, Smita, and others, take a second, go through the question, go through the interpretation. So usually when we get a writer's purpose, it is just to figure out the purpose. Here it's not about figuring out purpose. Rather, we know the writer's purpose is to explain the reason for something, and we need to figure out the reason for what. Okay, so all of you are with me so far? Is the question clear? All of you, tell me. Come on, tell me. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Now we are going to have a look at our extract. So we know we need to figure out the reason for what is being explained by the writer's purpose. Okay, all right. Let's have a look at the extract. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is our first paragraph. Let me zoom in so it's visible to all of you. Take 55 seconds, go through the heading and go through the first paragraph. All of you. Read the first paragraph. Okay, Blessy, can you read the heading until here for me, please?
Measles vaccine hesitancy. Measles is a highly contagious and potentially fatal disease caused by a paramyxovirus. It infects the respiratory tract and spreads throughout the body, causing a blotchy red-brown rash and high fever, as well as complications including encephalitis, seizures, and brain damage.
So today's extract is about hesitancy, the people's hesitancy to get measles vaccine. Okay, people are hesitant; they are reluctant to get the measles vaccine, and our extract is the entire extract is about that. Okay, and the first sentence actually describes measles. According to the sentence, measles is a highly contagious and life-threatening disease which is caused by a virus named paramyxovirus, and this disease infects the respiratory tract, and it spreads throughout the body, and it appears the symptoms can be blotchy. Blotchy means it's not a clear cut, but it's a a blurred kind of a blotchy red brown rash and high fever, along with complications such as encephalitis, seizures, and brain damage. Okay, all right, continue, Blessy, till here.
Safe and effective vaccine was introduced in 1963, yet despite the fact that measles is now preventable, there has been a rapid escalation in global epidemics, with cases increasing tenfold in Africa since 2006 and fourfold in Europe since 2017. In 2018, almost 10 million cases and more than 140 deaths were reported, mostly amongst children under the age of 5.
Okay, so here they are saying that, so they explained that this is a highly contagious disease caused by paramyxovirus, and it infects the respiratory tract, and it spreads throughout the body. It can lead to complications, and it can also cause symptoms such as red brown rash and high fever. Now they are like, so in 1963, a safe and effective vaccine was introduced. However, yet despite the fact that measles is now preventable, so they introduced the vaccine, and right now measles is considered to be something that is preventable. However, there is a quick escalation increase in the global epidemics, in the rate of this disease, with cases increasing 10 times in Africa since 2006. In Africa, the cases have increased 10 times, and in Europe, it has increased 4 times since 2017. So there is a vaccine in which was introduced in 1963, yet we are seeing a quick escalation in the numbers. In Africa, it's tenfold. In Europe, it's fourfold. And in 2018, 10 million cases and more than 1,040,000 deaths were reported amongst children under the age of 5. Okay, last sentence, Blessing.
The World Health Organization claims that all cases are because people who should have been vaccinated were not, underlining the need to invest in education, immunization, and quality healthcare as a right for all.
So they talked about what exactly measles is. They talked about how it has increased, and the rate of how it has increased in various continents, and how it has the cases have increased among kids under the age of 5. Now the sentence says that according to WHO, all these cases that are happening now are because people who should have gotten the vaccine, people who were supposed to get the vaccine, did not get themselves vaccinated. So that's why these cases are increasing according to WHO. And this statement, what the WHO is saying, is highlighting the fact that there is a need to invest in education. We need to invest more in education, immunization, and quality healthcare, because it's everybody's right. So based on what WHO's reasoning, it is clear that we need to invest more in these areas, because healthcare is a right, everybody's right. Okay, so all of you take a second, go through the sentence, go through the heading, go through everything with the first paragraph. If you want me to explain any word or any phrase, please feel free to ask. All of you. Okay, you cannot, when you turn the page to your questions, you cannot forget what you have read. So make sure that you form a logical map in your mind about the contents of text, paragraph 1. It explains what measles says. It talks about a vaccine was introduced in 1963. Even then, there is an escalation in Africa and in Europe, and in 2018, there's so many cases of measles reported among children under the age of 5. And WHO was like, you know what? The reason for this is people who should get vaccinated, they are not getting vaccinated. That is the reason. And that shows that it's important that we educate people, we immunize people, and give quality healthcare, because it's everyone's right. Everybody has a right to receive these. So Nivya, Shinu, Blessy, Jyoti, Saina, Trisa, Smita, and others, are you clear with everything that's been explained in the first paragraph? Any questions for me? Okay, perfect. So now we are going, okay, perfect. Now, yes, now we are going to have a look at the options. So Blessy, can you read each option with the question for me, please? This is an incomplete question. So can you read the options with the question?
In the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain why measles symptoms are easily mistaken for those or of others' diseases.
Why the writer's purpose is to explain why measles symptoms of measles are easily mistaken. We mistake measles symptoms for other diseases. Nivya, Shinu, Blessy, Jyoti, have they said this in the first paragraph? In the first paragraph that we read just now, anywhere have they said that, you know, the symptoms of measles are mistaken for other diseases? Have they said that?
No.
No. So
No.
is this our answer?
No.
No. So we reject that. Next one, Blessy.
In the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain why there has been a recent rise in the number of measles cases.
Does the writer explain that why there is a increase in the number of measles cases? Has that been explained in the first paragraph? What do you guys think? Have they given the reason why there is an increase? Have they talked about the recent increase and given reason for that?
No. No.
No? Okay, what about others? Blessy, you said no. What about others? Smita, Saina, Jyoti, what do you guys think?
It may be the answer, ma'am.
It may be the answer. So, okay. So, Blessy, I want you to think carefully. Next option, can you read, Blessy?
In the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain why solving the problem of measles in Africa will not be easy.
They said that in the paragraph, they mentioned that in Africa, the cases have increased 10 times. But anywhere in the paragraph did the writer explain about solving the problem of measles in Africa?
No, ma'am.
No. So that's not it. That's not it. Perfect. Next option, Blessing.
In the first paragraph, the writer's purpose is to explain why the death rate for measles in the under 5 is increasing.
Anywhere in the paragraph did they talk about the death rate for measles in people, in kids aged under 5, and that it is increasing? Was that explained? Death rate for measles in no. They said that, you know, millions of kids have 10 million, and for 1,040,000 kids have in 2018 they have millions of cases of measles among kids under the age of 5. But did they talk about the death rate or why the death rate is increasing? Did they? No. So answer is B. Okay. Blessy, WHO gave the reason, right? Look at the paragraph. Look at the paragraph. The writer talks about what is measles, then the writer talks about how it has increased. Then the reasoning is given. People who should have gotten the vaccine did not get it. So that is the reason. So that's why the writer explained the recent increase, and the writer did mention the reason that WHO gave. So that makes option B your best option. Nivya, Shinu, Blessy, Jose, Jyoti, Saina, Teresa, Smita, and others, are you clear? Does this make sense to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. We are moving on to the second question. Okay, all right. Smita, can you read the second question for me, please?
Yes, ma'am. In the second paragraph, one reason the writer gives for refusal of the measles vaccination is.
So in the second paragraph, one reason the writer gives for refusal of the measles vaccination is. So what do we need to figure out? What do we need to figure out here? What do we need to figure out? Come on, read the question. In the second paragraph, so we will read the second paragraph and we need to figure out one reason the writer gives. So we need to
reason the
yes.
writer gives refusal.
It is the one reason.
One reason. Okay, so correct. So let me tell you one thing. When you get question like when you get a question where you need to figure out one reason or one cause or one trigger, that means they have mentioned many reasons. Out of that, which one conveys one of those reasons? So understand that whenever you get questions where you need to figure out one reason or one trigger or one cause or one step, that means various steps, various reasons have been mentioned. Among that, from these options, which matches one of those reasons? That's what we need to figure out. So here we need to figure out one reason for people refusal of
measles
of measles. So people are refusing measles vaccination. So the one reason has been mentioned. What is that one reason? That's what we need to figure out. So all of you take a second, go through the question, go through the interpretation. Okay, let's have a look at the second paragraph. All of you take 55 seconds, read the second paragraph. Okay, all right. Smita, can you read till here for me, please?
Yes, ma'am. In developing countries, weak healthcare system may be partly blamed for low vaccination rates. However, this is not the case in developed countries where anti-vaccine sentiment has had a more substantial impact.
Okay, so they are talking about developed and developing and developed countries. So first sentence says that in developing countries, the healthcare system is weak. Their healthcare system is weak. That might be the partly to blame means partial cause. Okay, partial cause for low vaccination rates in developing countries. Okay, however, that this is not the case in developed countries. In developed countries, healthcare system is not the problem. What is the problem? Anti-vaccine sentiment. There is feeling against vaccine that has had a more substantial impact. That means significant. Substantial means significant effect. Okay, all right. Then continue reading, Smita, till here. Yeah.
In the UK, measles, mumps, and rubella coverage is now well below the recommended 95% to ensure effective herd immunity, and as a result, it has lost its World Health Organization measles elimination status.
So I want all of you to look at the sentence. So now they are focusing on the UK. In the UK, measles MMR coverage of MMR vaccine is now below the recommended 95%. So there is a recommended 95% coverage rate to ensure herd immunity. In the UK, now the MMR coverage rate is below that. And because of it, it has lost its status as these countries receive a measles elimination status under WHO because the UK's coverage does not meet the requirement for herd immunity, that is 95%. UK has lost that measles elimination status. Okay, continue reading, Smita, till here.
Analysis of vaccine hesitancy and falling uptake has highlighted the role of social media activism and pseudoscience in incorrectly portraying vaccination as harmful, unproven, and responsible for the rise in the illness or disorders such as autism. Individual liberty and parents' right to choose are common reasons given for vaccine refusal.
Okay, I want all of you to focus here. Pseudoscience. Pseudoscience means false science, wrong science. Okay, false. Pseudo is false, so it's false science. False science. All right, and okay, so when you analyze this hesitancy to take vaccine and why the uptake of vaccine has reduced, when you focus on that or when you analyze it, it highlights the role of how social media activism based on social media platforms and spread of false science that portrays, that shows vaccination as something harmful, something unproven, and something that is responsible for the increase in illnesses or disorders such as autism. So when you analyze why people are hesitant to take vaccine or why the rate of people taking vaccine has reduced, you can see that social media activism plays a role. Okay, people, supporting and fighting, doing activism through social media and spreading false signs where they say that, vaccination is very harmful. It is not proven. It can cause autism, such disorders. So all these things, when you analyze the hesitancy, you can see all these things involved in this hesitancy and the reduction in the rate of vaccination. Okay, last sentence, that one more thing. Another one thing is that individual liberty. Liberty means freedom. So people, freedom, that's individuals' freedom, and parents have a right to choose, are also reasons for vaccine refusal. So how social media portrays vaccination and the pseudoscience that shows vaccination is not proven, it can be harmful, it can cause autism, that one, and individuals' freedom, that means individuals' choice. So some people are, everything, there is a choice, right? If you want, you can choose. That attitude, that idea. And parents, for kids, it's the parents who choose the vaccine. So parents' right to choose are also reasons for a refusal to get vaccination. Okay, Smita, I want you to read the last sentence.
Right-wing populism, with its suspicion of authority, intellectuals and professionals is also thought to have played a role.
So right-wing populism, that means right-wing politics. Okay, populism is some politics that's for the people. So when I say right-wing, so if you when you read these articles and everything, you will you will read the words like right-wing populism, left-wing populism. Okay, when you say right-wing populism, that means the politics that's focused on traditional values. Okay, they are not about liberty or something, or they are not very open-minded. Rather, they have political ideas that focus on traditional values. Okay, so now the writer is like, what? Another one problem is there are right-wing politics that focuses on traditional values. So if you belong to such political ideas, or if you follow such political ideas, what happens with such political ideas comes the suspicion of authority. So when they start becomes suspicious of authority, the government, and all those things. And intellectuals are people who focuses on academics, they focuses on ideologies and stuff. So when you have the right-wing political ideas, you tend to be suspicious of authority figures, intellectuals, or professionals. In here, professionals being medical professionals, that also play a role in refusing vaccination. Okay, very good paragraph with a lot of vocabulary which might be new to many of you. So take a second, go through it. It has talked about in developing countries, who to blame. Partial cause, that is for low vaccination rate, is weak healthcare system. And in developed countries, the anti-vaccine sentiment, the sentiment people have against vaccine, that has a significant role. And in the UK, this herd immunity for measles is 95%, and UK has failed to meet that requirement. Thereby, UK lost their measles elimination status under WHO. Then when you analyze people's hesitancy to get vaccine, or the reduction in the rate of vaccine uptake, it shows that social media activism and pseudoscience, false science that highlights that vaccine as something harmful, something that's not proven to be effective, something that can increase autism and such issues. That is also something is a reason when it comes to vaccination hesitancy. Another one thing is that individuals' freedom, people believing they have a right to choose. Also, parents choosing for their kids are also a reason for refusal for vaccine. Finally, right-wing populism, people who believes in the right-wing political ideologies, they become suspicious, they suspect authority, they don't trust the authority, they don't trust individuals, intellectuals, they don't trust professionals, and all these might have played a role in refusal or vaccine hesitancy. Okay, very good paragraph. Nivya, Shinu, Blessy, Jose, Jyoti, Saina, Teresa, Smita, and others, are you clear with every single sentence here?
Yes, ma'am, clear, ma'am.
Okay. And remember, you cannot forget. When you turn the page, you cannot forget, and you cannot, sometimes once you read a paragraph and when you go to the questions, you cannot forget what you have read. Okay, so keep this in mind, and let's have a look at our options. Smita, can you read the options one by one with the question for me, please?
In the second paragraph, one reason the writer gives for refusal of the measles vaccination is infrequent encounters of the disease in day-to-day life.
Infrequent with occasional or rare encounters of the disease. Rarely we see the disease in daily life. Rarely we encounter the disease, that is measles, in day-to-day life. Do you think that's why people are refusing vaccination? That's measles is rare. Is that why?
No.
No. So we can reject it. No, we can reject it. Next option, Smita.
One reason the writer gives for refusal of the measles vaccination is a lack of understanding of the severity of the disease.
In anywhere in the paragraph have they told that people don't understand the severity, how severe the condition is? Have they told that?
No.
No, they have said people find that it is a vaccine is harmful, vaccine is unproven, but they have not told that people do not understand how severe measles is. That's not said. So B is not the answer. Next one, Smita.
One reason the writer gives for refusal of the measles vaccination is fear of impairments it has been said to cause.
What do you mean by impairments? Impairments.
Disability.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Disorders of disabilities. Okay. So, is that one of the reasons that people are afraid of disorders or disabilities that this measles can cause? Is that it? Is that one of the reasons that people refuse to get the vaccine? What do you guys think? Are people?
It can be the answer.
It can be the answer, but read the last one as well, Smita.
One reason the writer gives for refusal of the measles vaccination is insufficient guidance from experts.
Have they told that experts are giving insufficient guidance?
No.
No. So answer is C, right? They have told that people are afraid, believe that it can cause social media activism and pseudoscience. Say that it can cause disorders and increase the rate of disorders and disability problems such as autism. So that's why C is the answer. People are afraid that measles vaccine can cause disabilities or disorders. So that's why there is a fear of impairments. That's why C is the answer. Nivya, Shinu, Blessy, Jyoti, Saina, Trisa, Smita, and others. Are you guys clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. We are moving on to the 9th question. Okay. So let me tell you one thing. One second. Yeah. So what we are going to do now is from the 3rd paragraph, we have 2 questions. So let's start with the first one. Okay. So Saina, can you read the 9th question for me, please? Unmute yourself so I can hear you. Okay. All right. That's okay. Nivya, is it possible for you to unmute yourself and read the question?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. The writer uses the phrase "goes against the grain" to emphasize his feelings that.
I want all of you to interpret the question. This is a vocabulary question. I want all of you to go through the question and tell me what exactly have they asked us to find here. The writer uses the phrase "goes against the grain" to emphasize his feeling that. So what do we need to find out here? Is it about finding the meaning of the word or is it something else?
Finding about his feeling.
Finding about the feeling. So we need to after reading the paragraph, we need to figure out that with the use by using the phrase goes against the grain. What feeling of the writer is getting highlighted? What feeling of the writer is emphasized? Highlighted. When you emphasize something, you're highlighting it. So when the writer uses the phrase, some type of writer's feeling gets highlighted, we need to find out that what exact feeling of the writer is highlighted by this phrase. Okay, so all of you take a second, go through the question. Look at the interpretation, all of you. Go through the question. So we know there is a phrase. We need to find out through this phrase what feeling of the writer gets highlighted. Okay, all right. So whenever you have a vocabulary question, you don't need to read the whole paragraph. You need to read the sentence that has the vocabulary. Okay, here we go. So this is the one. So okay, so we have all. So usually when you get a vocabulary question, you read the sentence with the vocabulary and the sentence before it. Okay. So here we can read from here. I want all of you to read from here till here. All right. Please go through it. Okay. So Nivya, can you read those two sentences for me, please?
Okay, ma'am. However, the majority of parents do not have the benefit of understanding the principles of toxicology, immunology, epidemiology, or biostatistics, and so they are understandably skeptical. After all, we do not allow children to put toxins in their mouth. So far, many the idea of permitting a stranger to inject their young child with a fatal disease really goes against the grain.
So here the writer is focusing on the parents, and the writer says that a majority of the parents do not know. They do not have any idea about what is toxicology, what do we mean by immunology, what do we understand by epidemiology or biostatistics. So it's understand. So they are understandably skeptical. So when I say somebody is understandably something, I mean by I understand why they are skeptical. So when somebody is skeptical of something, they are suspicious. They don't believe it. Okay, suspicious. Okay, suspicious. They don't trust it fully. So the writer is like, but the parents don't know all this medical vocabulary, medical jargons, or this medical fields, or these ideologies like toxicology, immunology, epidemiology. They don't know what it is. So it's understandable why they are suspicious. After all, then he says that after all, we do not allow children to put toxins in their mouth. So for many, the idea of permitting a stranger to inject their young child with a fatal disease really goes against the grain. So he's like, what? After all, we don't allow our kids to have something that, any type of toxins in their mouth. So why would a parent allow a stranger to inject some kind of life-threatening disease into their kids, into their kids? That very idea really goes against their grain. So goes against like their grain. There means the parents, what the parents mindset is. It really goes against everything that they stand for, because first of all, they don't know what all these things are. Secondly, usually we don't allow kids to take anything, any kind of toxins or anything, or keep it even in their mouth as such. So why would they allow a stranger to inject something that they have no idea about into their child's body? That very thing goes against their idea, their grain. That means that very thing goes against what they stand for as parents. Okay, so all of you take a second, go through those two sentences. We need to figure out the writer's feeling. So go through it. Okay, so the writer is like, parents have no idea about any of these things. That's very much healthcare or medical or science oriented ideas, or principles. So it's understandable why these parents are suspicious of such things. So a parent will never allow a kid to put any toxin in his mouth or in their mouth. So why would a parent? So the idea of somebody injecting something that they have no idea about, something that's related to a fatal disease in their kid's body, that stands for something that completely goes against the parents' grain. Their who they are, their principle, or what they stand for, it goes completely against the entire being of a parent. Okay, did it make sense to all of you? Do you understand the meaning of this now? Okay,
Yes,
let's have a look at the options now. Okay, all right. So right, Nivya, can you read each option with the question for me, please?
okay, ma'am. The writer uses the phrase goes against the grain to emphasize his feelings that fear of vaccines is not necessarily irrational.
So is that the feeling that by using the phrase goes against the grain, is the writer trying to say that people's fear, the parents' fear of vaccine is not something, is not necessarily irrational. It's not an irrational thing. When something is not irrational, what is it? It's rational. Is that what the writer is saying? Fear of vaccine is something rational. It's a reasonable thing. It's not something completely unreasonable. Okay, Nivya, read the next option.
The writer uses the phrase goes against the grain to emphasize his feelings that children's needs must be put before parents.
Has he said that you need to put all your child's need every time before the, you need to always give priority to the children's need before you prioritize the parents? Has he said that?
No.
No, that is for sure. Okay, next one, Nivya.
The writer uses the phrase goes against the grain to emphasize his feelings that improving science education should be a priority.
Anywhere did the writer say that we need to improve science education? That is an important thing. No, that's not it. Next one, Nivya.
The writer uses the phrase goes against the grain to emphasize his feelings that it's hard to make people do what is expected of them.
It's very difficult to make people do things that they need to do. Has he said that it's very difficult to make people do things, or make them do things that is expected of them? Has he said that?
No.
What has he actually said? See, parents are afraid. They have no idea what these things are. So it's understandable why they are skeptical. And when you ask a parent to when you don't ask for a parent, when a parent will never allow their kid to put any kind of strange things in their mouth, why would you allow? Why would you think that the idea of injecting something into their kid's body would be a normal thing for them? It won't be, because it's understandable why they are scared. It's something that does not make sense for them. So what is the answer? Answer is A. He says it's understandable why they are skeptical. If you are asking when a parent will not even allow their kid to place some kind of toxic matter in their mouth, why would the idea of putting something toxic in their something a part of a fatal disease in their body will never go against their grain, will be something that stands like completely or feel like odd for them as a parent. So that says he understands it. He understands why they're afraid of the vaccine. So it's not an irrational thing. Rather, it's a rational thing. The fear is rational. So that's why A is the answer. Okay, really good question. So here we are not looking at the meaning of the word. Rather, by using the phrase, what does the writer feel about it? The writer feels that the fear of the parents are justifiable. It's reasonable. It's understandable. Okay, when you force somebody to do something that does not come to them, that's part of their instinct, that does not matches with their instinct, of course it goes against their grain. So here, let me just write it down. Here, grain means instinct. All right, when something goes against the grain, it goes against their entire instinct, what they stand for. Okay, all right, let's move on to the 10th question. Okay, all right, Jyoti, can you read the 10th question for me, please? Unmute yourself so I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. What approach to improving vaccine take-up does the writer advocate in the third paragraph?
Advocate means when somebody advocates something, they are supporting it. Okay, so what do we need to find out? What approach to improving vaccine take-up does the writer advocate in the third paragraph? So what are we looking for? Come on, tell me, what are we looking for? Nivya, Saina, Teresa, Shinu, Blessy, Smita, Jose, others. Tell me, what are we looking for here in the question? What do we need to find out?
What is the writer approach to improving vaccine?
Yes, an approach mentioned by the writer. Approach to improve vaccine uptake. So the writer has mentioned an approach to improve, to increase the vaccine uptake. Okay, what is that approach? Vaccine uptake. What is that? So the writer wants to improve the uptake of vaccine, and the writer has mentioned one approach in the third paragraph. What exactly is that approach? Okay, when somebody advocates something, they support it. Okay, all right, let's have a look at the remaining part of the paragraph. So we have already read till here. Now read from here to here. We have already read half of the third paragraph. Now read till here, all of you. Okay, all right. Jyoti, can you read it? Read the sentences from here to here.
Yes, ma'am. Furthermore, many object for religious or philosophical reasons. If we are serious about increasing protection levels, we need to fully understand the rationale behind vaccine refusal and listen more sympathetically to those who oppose it. Only then we only then can we work out how to persuade them to have the vaccination.
So the writer told about how taking a vaccine can go against a parent's instinct. Now the writer is like, more than this, sometimes people will refuse vaccination due to their religious or philosophical reasons. Then the writer says that if you are serious, if you really want to increase protection levels, that means if you really want to improve the vaccine uptake, you need to fully understand the rationale, that is reasoning, rationale behind vaccine refusal. So if you really want to improve the vaccine uptake, you really need to understand the reasoning behind why people refuse vaccination, and listen to people more sympathetically, especially to those people who are against it. Okay, so if you really want to improve protection levels, we need to understand why people are refusing the vaccine, and we need to listen to them more sympathetically. Only then we can work out, we can find out how to persuade them to how to convince these people to have the vaccine. So if you want to increase the vaccination rate, you need to listen to the people who are refusing it, the reason for their refusal, and be more sympathetic to them. Only then we can convince them, or we can work out, that means come up with how we can convince them to have the vaccine. Okay, so all of you take a second, go through it. This is pretty straightforward. All right, so let's have a look at the options. Here we go. Right. So Jyoti, can you read each options one by one? You just need to read the option because this question is a complete question. This ends with a question mark. So Jyoti, can you read the options one by one?
Making vaccination centers more accessible and family friendly.
Making vaccination centers more accessible. Accessible means easy to access. Family friendly. Have they said that we need to make vaccination centers more accessible and family friendly? Did we read that just now? Did we read any of this? Smita, Jose, Blessy, what do you guys think? No. So no, they did not mention that. Perfect. Next one, Jyoti.
Raising awareness of the potential impact of childhood disease.
So in the paragraph, did the writer say that we need to improve the awareness of how a childhood disease affect people? Has he said that? Is that how we need to improve vaccination update, by making people aware of the impact of childhood disease, how the effect of childhood disease? Has they said that in the paragraph?
No.
No. So we can reject that as well. Next one, Jyoti.
Offering parents a simple explanation of how vaccines work.
Did they, in the paragraph, did the writer say we need to give parents simple explanation of how vaccine works? Was that there, Jyoti? Had they mentioned that, Blessy? Did they mention that? No, of course no. So answer is option D. Jyoti, can you read option D for me, please?
Considering the perspective of those who have concerns.
Considering, take into consideration the perspective. Perspective is the point of view of the people who have concern. So you need to take into consideration the viewpoint of the people who have concern about vaccines, right? They told us to be sympathetic, and the writer told us we need to sympathetic. We need to listen to people who are against it. So that means consider their perspective. Only then we can change. So that's why answer is D. This is pretty straightforward. Nivya, Smita, Saina, Shinu, Blessy, Jose, Teresa, and others. Are you clear with these first 4 questions? Do you have any confusions or any doubts about these first 2 questions? First 4 questions.
No
Okay.
doubt.
No doubt. Perfect. So we are moving on to the 11th one. Okay. On that note, Smita, can you read the 11th question for me, please?
What problem will with compulsory vaccination does the writer identify in the 4th paragraph?
All of you read the question. Tell me, what do we need to find out here? What problem with compulsory vaccination does the writer identify in the 4th paragraph? So what do we need to find out here?
What is the problem?
Problem with what? Problem with
Compulsory vaccination.
Compulsory vaccination. So there is a problem, according to the writer, with compulsory vaccination. Compulsory means making vaccination compulsory, mandatory. There is a problem with it. What is that problem as per the writer? Okay, all of you take a second, look at the question, look at the interpretation. It's very important you understand your question well. You cannot imagine, pause and read and think about what exactly we should find out. So we need to find out. They are talking about compulsory vaccination. There is a problem with it. What exact problem is told is mentioned by the writer? Okay, so let's read the paragraph. Here we go. Let's read our fourth paragraph. All of you, from here till here, go through it. Okay, Smita, can you read the first sentence still here for me, please? Yes.
One controversial idea that has been proposed in the UK is compulsory vaccination for children, although the practicalities and repercussions of implementing such an ambitious plan remain unclear. The WHO leaves individual countries to decide their own way of ensuring high rates and makes no recommendation for or against mandating.
Okay, so in this sentence, the writer says that one controversial idea. Controversial idea means something that's very debatable, something that has been argued by many. Everybody has a viewpoint, nobody's agreeing on something. So such an idea is called controversial idea. And such an idea has been proposed in the UK. That is vaccinating children, making vaccination for children compulsory, mandatory. Okay, every child has to be vaccinated. That is a controversial idea that has been proposed in the UK. Okay, although the practicalities, although how practical this idea is, and repercussions are consequences. Okay, whatever the meaning of the word that I'm writing it down, you need to make a note of it, because these are very, very commonly found in your reading part C. So the consequences of such an idea, of such an ambitious plan, remain unclear. So whether it is practical, what the compulsory vaccination, whether it is practical, or what are the consequences, that remain unclear. Okay, and the World Health Organization leaves individual countries to decide their own way of ensuring high rates. So if the countries want to ensure high rates of vaccine uptake, they need to do that on their own. WHO is like, we have nothing to do with it, you need to figure it out. And WHO is not making any recommendation supporting or against mandating. They are not, WHO is not supporting it, they are not against it. They are like, if you want high vaccine uptake, you need to figure that out yourself as countries. Okay, they are not going to be a part of it, or they have not said anything about it. Okay, Smita, continue reading till here. Till the end.
Some countries make vaccination a condition for attending school, and others use the threat of withholding benefits such as social security payments. Furthermore, studies examining Europe's different governmental approaches did not point to a single best one and highlighted the likelihood of unwelcome outcomes of compulsion, including a lack of proper education for some, as a significant proportion of parents will not be persuaded to change their mind when faced with obligation.
Okay, I want all of you to focus here. We have a lot to understand. Obligation means a responsibility. Not just a responsibility, that a responsibility that you have to fulfill. No other way. You have to fulfill that responsibility. That's what we call as obligation. It is expected of you. Okay, you don't have any other options, and you have to do it. That's what we call as an obligation. Now let's understand this sentence. So they told us that in the UK they are planning for a compulsory vaccination, and we don't know how practical it is. We don't know what the consequences are. All these are unclear. And WHO is like, the countries need to come up with their own way to increase vaccination rate. We don't have any recommendations. They are not for compulsory vaccination. They are not against it. Nothing from the WHO side. Okay. Now, the writer goes on to say that some countries make vaccination a condition for attending school. So what some countries have done that in some countries, if a child wants to attend school, they need to be vaccinated. They have to be vaccinated. That's a mandatory thing. Or some other countries use the threat of withholding benefits such as social security payments. So some people might be receiving some kind of benefit from the government. So some countries use that as, if you don't vaccinate your kids or if you don't get the vaccine, you will not be receiving such payments. Okay, so these are the approaches taken by different countries. Then let's continue reading. I want all of your attention here. This is a tricky sentence, long sentence, a lot of details to unpack. Furthermore, studies examining Europe's different governmental approach did not point to a single best one. So what happened? There are studies that analyzed the different approaches taken by different governments in Europe to increase vaccine uptake, and they were unable to find what is the single best approach. There are many approaches taken by governments, but none of the studies showed which among these approaches which is the best. And these studies also highlighted that the likelihood of, whenever I say likelihood, whenever you see likelihood, it means the possibility. Likelihood is possibility. The possibility of unwelcome outcomes of compulsion. Unwelcome means something that's not so good, not so welcomed. Okay, so they were like, you know what? They did studies to figure out which approach would be beneficial for compulsory vaccination, but they were unable to find they were unable to tell us which was the best one. And these studies highlighted that if you compel people to get vaccinated, there is a possibility of unwelcomed outcomes, not so good outcomes. For example, if you compel people to kids vaccination, what happened? A lack of proper education for some. There will be a lack of education. That is an example. That is an outcome, unwelcome outcome. A lack of proper education for some people, because most of the parents will not be convinced to change their mind when faced with obligation. So when you tell a parent, you need to get your child vaccinated, irrespective of what you think, you have to get your child vaccinated. It is compulsory. When you make something compulsory, that something becomes a responsibility that they have to fulfill. You're not giving them any choice. So what happens? They don't educate themselves on vaccination, or they don't try to get education. Rather, it becomes an obligation. Rather, actually, you don't change their minds. Rather, you force them by making that idea a responsibility, an obligation that they have to fulfill. Okay. Please take a second, go through it. I hope I conveyed the meaning clearly to all of you. But take a second, go through the paragraph. Especially focus on that last sentence. So, controversial idea in the UK is compulsory vaccination. Practicality and repercussions, we don't know. It's unclear. WHO has not given any country or has not said to any country what they need to do. They have told if you want high rates, you need to figure out high rates of vaccine uptake. You need to figure out on your own. They are not against compulsory vaccination. They are not for it. Okay. Then some countries have made vaccination as a requirement for attending school. Some countries have used vaccination as some countries have tried to ensure vaccination by withholding social benefits. And so many studies examined what different governmental approaches to vaccination and tried to figure out which would be the best one. But they have not said which is best yet, because they were unable to figure that out. Also, they highlighted that if you make vaccine compulsory, make it a compulsion, there will be unwelcome outcomes, such as there will be a lack of proper education. People never receive a proper education on it, because when you force a parent to get their child vaccinated, you are not changing their mind. Rather, you are making that compulsory vaccination an obligation, something that they have no choice about. So they are not changing their minds. You're forcing them to do something by making it an obligation. So they are not educated. They are not clearly aware of the thing that what they're doing. They're just doing for the sake of doing it. Okay. So Nivya, Blessy, Smita, Jose, Jyoti, Saina, Teresa, and others, are you clear here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. This is a very important paragraph. I want you to go through it once again. Okay. Let's have a look at the options. Let's have a look at the options. Let's have a look at the options. Okay, so these are the options. Okay, Smita, can you read the options one by one? We needed to figure out problem with compulsory vaccination. Okay, Smita, can you read the options?
Option A, there is no united international approach.
Did the writer say that there is no united international approach?
No, ma'am.
There is, the writer said WHO has no recommendation. The writer is in the paragraph, that is not a problem. Okay, there is no united international approach. Yes, WHO has not said given an approach, but that is not the problem. That is just a fact. Okay, so A is not the answer. Okay, next one, Smita.
Option B, it could lead to significant social inequalities.
It could. It means compulsory vaccination could lead to significant social inequalities. What do you think of that? Can there be a social inequality? Maybe. Okay, next one. Let's keep that in hold. Keep that on hold. Smita, continue reading.
Option C, most countries lack the public funding to enforce it.
Did they say that most countries do not have the money, public funding to enforce it? No, that's not said. Next option, Smita.
It would require countries to change their welfare systems.
Did they say that countries will need to change their welfare system for compulsory vaccination?
No.
They said some countries are threatening people that they will not give social benefits if they don't vaccinate. They did not say that countries will need to change. No. So what is the answer?
Second one, B.
What is the social inequality? Lack of education. People won't bother with education. They will just do it because it's compulsory. Okay, you might feel A is the answer, but the writer just told WHO has no recommendation. So and it is not conveyed as a problem. It's just a piece of information. We are looking for a problem. Problem is that, as told in the last sentence, an unwelcome outcome is that people there will be a lack of proper education. Okay, all right. This is a very good question. I want you guys to go through it later. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the 12th question. Okay, all right. From the 5th paragraph, we have. Okay, let's have a look at the paragraph. Blessy, can you read the question for me, please?
What do we learn from the 5th paragraph about the research that Michael Mina carried out?
So, what do we need to figure out? What do we learn about from the 5th paragraph about the research that Michael Mina carried out? So, what do we need to find out? Information about what? Information about? Information about Michael Mina's research. Yes, when you learn something, that's you get some piece of information. Michael Mina's research. This is a interesting paragraph. I need your full attention here. Research. So, information about Michael Mina's research. So, let's go to 5th paragraph. Let's read it and let's see what information is given about Michael Mina's research. Here we go. All of you, take 55 seconds. Go through the 5th paragraph. This is an interesting one. Go through it. Blessing, can you read till here for me, please? I need your full attention here. This is an important paragraph. Can you read till here for me, please?
Emerging research highlights the importance of vaccination against measles. Michael Mina pioneered a study at Harvard University and discovered that the disease has a devastating effect on the immune system, making it far more lethal than we realized. He coined the term immune amnesia for the phenomenon he uncovered.
So they are like, there are research works emerging that highlights how important vaccination is against measles. They talk about Michael Mina, who led a study at Harvard University, and Michael Mina discovered that the disease has a damaging effect, devastating, damaging, extremely damaging effect on the immune system. And that effect makes it more lethal. Lethal means really dangerous, make it extremely dangerous than we realized. So Michael Maynard carried out some research in order to find out how important vaccine is for measles, and he found out that the disease has a damaging effect on our immune system. It is much, that effect is much more dangerous than we realized. Then he came up with a term named how it affects the immune system. For that, he came up with a term named immune amnesia for that phenomenon. Okay, all right, continue reading, Blessing. Till here.
Experts suspect that it may be a catalyst for many deaths from other illnesses that would otherwise not have been contracted during childhood. As we are infected with diseases or are vaccinated against them, we accumulate specialized immune cells, each of which has learned to produce antibodies to attack one particular part of a pathogen.
So experts suspect that it is the immune amnesia. So experts believe that immune amnesia may be a cause for many deaths from other illnesses. If you don't get the vaccine, your immune system gets affected, and you develop something called immune amnesia, which can be the cause for many deaths from other illnesses that would otherwise not have been contracted. So if you had taken the vaccine, you would have never gotten that other diseases. So since you did not get the vaccine and your immune system is compromised, that can lead to various other illnesses and death. During childhood, as we are infected with diseases or are vaccinated against them, we accumulate specialized immune cells, each of which has learned to produce antibodies to attack one particular part of the pathogen. So in our childhoods, when you get a disease, or when you contract a disease, or when you get the vaccine against a disease, our body develops immune cells. Those immune cells have the ability to attack antibodies of pathogens. So if you get a disease or if you get a vaccination, your body develops immune cells. Those cells can, attack antibodies or antibodies of pathogens, thereby protecting us, right? Okay, continue reading, Blessy, till here.
Two major studies of members of the Dutch Orthodox Church, which rejects vaccination, discovered that the measles virus kills up to 73% of the cells. Immunity is gradually regained as they are re-exposed. But in the meantime, people remain susceptible to serious complications of these injections.
So infections. So they talked about that if you get a disease or if you're immunized, you get immunity cells. Okay. So that immunity cells have antibodies which will attack pathogens. Now, so they were talking about Michael Mina studies and giving us detail on that. Now they are like, you know what? There are other two major studies conducted by Dutch Orthodox Church. Okay, so it's a Dutch Orthodox Church who does not support vaccination. These people who did the research here, the major studies, these people do not support vaccination, and their research also found out that the measles virus can kill around 73% of our immunity cells. So what happened? So the measles, if you contract measles can kill around 73% of our immunity cells, and immunity is gradually so once you get the disease, eventually you will regain your immunity when we are re-exposed, but during that time gap until you regain your immunity, the immunity cells are affected and there is a period for us to regain that immunity. That interval, what happens, people become susceptible to other complications because of those infections, because it affects the immunity cells. We don't have immunity during that interval of regaining it. So that gap, we become more susceptible to infections. Okay, continue reading, Blessy, till the end.
In the light of this finding, Mina believes that that patients recovering from measles would benefit hugely from a round of booster shots of all previous routine vaccines, as the long-term consequences that stem from increased susceptibility are potentially devastating.
So this Meena found out that our immunity gets affected. We have something called he developed the term immune amnesia. Then they understood that when somebody gets measles, their immunity cells gets affected, and they accumulate immunity cells, and immune cells can attack other pathogens. But if you get the measles virus can affect our immune cells, thereby making us more susceptible to get other diseases. So because of this finding, what Meena did was, Meena believed that patients who are recovering from measles would benefit from a booster dose, because there is an interval where you don't have immunity, right? So during that interval, if they get a booster dose, they can, as the long-term consequence that stem from increased susceptibility, are potentially devastating. So there is a period where your immunity goes, and there is after an interval, you regain that immunity. During that immunity, during that lack of immunity time, you are susceptible to other diseases. So during that interval, you need a booster shot to ensure that when you are at risk, to ensure that the other diseases does not affect you, and it does not cause any devastating problems. Okay, so take a second, go through it. It's a bit difficult to understand. You need to clearly follow the logical thread, otherwise you will be at a loss. So go through everything. Michael Meena carried out a study, and he developed the term immune amnesia because he understood that the disease affects our immunity system. Then they say that experts believe that this can be okay. It may be a catalyst for many deaths from immune amnesia. When your body does not have immunity, that at that time that can be a cause for us getting other illnesses. Also, another study confirmed that when somebody gets measles, their immune cells gets affected. These immune cells, we will regain it, but there is an interval for that regaining to happen. During that time, people will be at more risk of getting other diseases. So that's why Meena, the scientists believe that while people get the disease and while they are recovering, so measles affects their immune cells, and the immune cells gets destroyed. So there is a period before they regain immunity. So during that interval, people need to get booster shots in order to avoid the devastating effects of other serious conditions. Blessy, Smita, Saina, are you clear so far?
Clear, ma'am.
Yes,
okay. Okay, let's have a look at the options. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, so can you read the options one by one, Blessy? Yes.
It confirmed a theory that had already been put forward.
It refers to what here? Research by Michael Meena. So did they say that Michael Meena's research confirmed a previous theory? Did they say that anywhere?
No.
No, they have not talked about any previous theory. So that's not it. Next option.
There are a number of different ways to interpret the data.
Did they say that, based on Michael Meena's research, we can interpret, we can understand the data in various ways? Did they say that? No. Next option, Blessing.
It has helped persuade some population to get vaccinated.
This research has helped some population, persuaded, convinced some populations to get vaccinated. Did they say that?
No.
Read the last option, Blessing.
There is a way to deal with the additional risk it revealed.
There is a way to deal with the additional risks it revealed. What do you think, guys? Think D is the answer. Why is D the answer? So the Michael Meena realized that there is when you get the virus, after you get the virus, it affects the immunity cells, and there you won't have immunity cells for some time. It affects 73% of immunity cells, and your immunity will be down for some time before you regain it. So during that gap, you will get other diseases. So in order to manage that, Michael Sena told that we need booster doses. So that is the risk. There lack of immunity during an regaining immunity, loss of immunity and regaining it. Between that, there is an interval, putting the people at risk. So that is the additional risk that he realized, and he also told there is a way to deal with it. What is the way? Booster shot. So that's why D is the answer. Okay, all of you, are you clear here? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I want all of you to go through this question as well later. We have 2 more questions to go, which is from the final paragraph. Okay, Blessy, can you read the, we'll read the questions together. So Blessy, can you read the first question for me, please?
In the final paragraph, this refers to the fact that measles vaccination programs.
So what do we need to figure out here?
What is the meaning of this in this last final paragraph?
Not exactly. Okay. What does this refer to? What fact about measles program? What fact about measles vaccination program is referred to by this? So by using this, they are referring to a fact about the measles vaccination program. We need to figure out what fact. So in the final paragraph, this refers to the fact about measles vaccination programs. What is that fact? Okay, so this talk about some fact about the program. We need to figure out what is that fact. So whenever you have this, whenever you get this, these, all those things, you don't need to read everything. You just need to read the sentence that has this and the sentence above it. Okay, this one, and so this sentence. So please read from here till here, all of you. From here till here, that's more than enough. From here till here. Leslie, can you read the sentences for me, please?
Ensuring widespread vaccination would not only help prevent the deaths directly attributed to measles, but could also avert potentially hundreds of thousands of additional deaths attributed to the lasting damage to the immune system. This drives home the importance of understanding and preventing the long-term effects of measles, including stealth effects that have flown under the radar of doctors and parents.
Okay, all right. One second, I'm sorry. 1 second. Okay, all right. So let's have a look here. I want all of you to focus here. Ensuring widespread vaccination would not only help prevent the deaths directly connected to measles. So when you are able to ensure why people are getting vaccinated a lot, it will not only help to prevent deaths directly related to measles, but it could also prevent hundreds of thousands of additional deaths connected to the long-lasting damage of immune system. So when you ensure vaccination, it not only prevents deaths directly related to measles, but it could also prevent additional deaths that can come from the damage that measles cause to the immune system. Okay, that idea shows the importance of understanding. So this refers to what here? I want you guys to tell me, what does this refer to here? This refer to the what idea is mentioned in the previous sentence. What is the idea? Ensuring widespread vaccination not only prevent deaths related to directly connected to measles, but also the deaths not only that, but also the deaths indirectly related to the damage caused to the immune system. So that shows how important it is to understand and prevent long-term effects of measles, including stealth. When something is stealth, it's not clearly evident. It's there, but it's kind of a secret. It's not clearly evident, and that have flown under the radar. When something is under the radar, something that goes unnoticed by the doctors and parents. Okay, so all of you take a second, go through the sentence. One more thing, let me add. Whenever you use not only and but also, okay, whenever you use, so here not only, one idea, not only plus one idea. Then you use but also in the same sentence. Then present another idea, the second idea. Then in such a scenario, the second idea is more important than okay, one second, let me try that. So whenever you use not only and but also to present two ideas, the second idea is considered to be more surprising or is more surprising than the first one. So that is, first one is there, first idea is there, but the second idea is much more surprising than the first one, or much more, unexpected than the first one. That is the use of not only and but also. So when you want to talk about two ideas where one is more surprising than the other, you use not only but also. That's the grammatical aspect of not only and but also. I want you guys to remember this. This is very important. Okay, so when they say ensuring widespread vaccination help prevent direct deaths, that is an idea. And when they say but also it helps to prevent additional deaths caused by the after effects of measles, the second idea is much more unexpected, much more surprising than the first one. Okay, and here they say that ideology, that whole thing clearly shows how important it is to understand and prevent long-term effects of measles, including the ones that are secret effects that goes unnoticed by doctors and parents. Okay, all right, let's have a look. All of you, are you clear? Smita, Saina, are you guys clear here so far?
Yes,
Clear,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, all right, let's have a look at the this one. Okay, what does this mean? So Blessy, can you read each option with the question for me, please? This refers to the fact.
In the final paragraph, this refers to the fact that measles vaccination programs require more thorough research in developing countries.
Anywhere have they mentioned about developing countries there?
No.
No, so that's not it. Next option, Blessy.
In the final paragraph, this refers to the fact that measles vaccination programs are likely to be more straightforward in wealthy countries.
What do you guys think of this?
No.
No. Have they talked about wealthy countries? No, they haven't. Okay, they just told direct effects are more. Compared to the direct additional deaths coming from the direct results of measles, the additional deaths caused by lasting damage is also important. That's what they have told. They have not talked about wealthy countries or anything. Next option, Blessy.
In the final paragraph, this refers to the fact that measles vaccination programs may have a more profound impact than originally intended.
What do you guys think?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, last option, Blessy. Last option, then I'll explain it quickly. Last option.
In the final paragraph, this refers to the fact that measles vaccination programs generate valuable data that can be applied to other diseases.
Did they say that vaccination programs give valuable data that can be applied to other diseases? Valuable data,
No.
valuable information? No. So what is the answer? C is the
C.
answer. So for you to understand C, you need to know what not only but also means. So this refers to the statement that came before it. That statement says not only vaccines help to prevent direct result of measles, but also help to prevent additional deaths caused by the effect of measles. Lasting effects of measles. So the second idea is more important. So what does that mean? A vaccination program have more profound impact, more significant impact than originally intended, because there were two ideas. One is we know, the second one is more surprising. So that's why, and option C is the answer. Blessy, Smita, sign up. Please have a look at it before we move on to our final question. This is a very interesting, very different question. And how, in order for you to understand C is the answer, you need to understand the usage of not only and but also. Okay, is this clear to all of you? Okay, perfect. So I'm moving on to the last question. I'll read the question here. So in the last question, what is Meena doing in the quotation? Quotation is something, some dialogue that's mentioned using this one, apostrophe. Okay, so when what somebody said exactly is mentioned using apostrophe, we use quotation. So that's what a quotation means, quoting the exact words of someone. So, for you to understand that, they use apostrophes, double apostrophes or single apostrophe. So here, what is Meena doing in the quotation at the end of the final paragraph? So we need to find out Meena's purpose for purpose based on the quotation. So there is a quotation, there is a code that's given, what exactly somebody said. So based on that, what Meena is doing, what is Meena's purpose? Okay, so we don't need to read the whole paragraph, we just need to read the quotation here because it's clearly highlighted. So the quotation is the last two sentences. Please go through it, this and the last sentence. Okay, this drives home. What drives home? That additional deaths can also be prevented with vaccination. That drives home means that clearly shows how the importance of understanding, importance of being aware and preventing long-term effects of measles. Okay, so this what shows that vaccination can prevent direct deaths and indirect deaths from measles. That particular idea shows the importance of understanding and preventing the long-term effects of measles, including stealth effects. Stealth effects are secret effects. That means it's not very, obvious, something that's less obvious results that have flown under the radar. Something is under the radar means something that goes unnoticed by doctors and parents. So they say that measles can prevent direct and indirect effects. So that idea clearly shows how important it is to understand and prevent long-term effects of measles, especially the ones, the effects that we don't, that are less obvious, that even goes unnoticed by doctors and parents. The symptoms of measles itself may be the tip of the iceberg. When I say something is the tip of the iceberg, I mean it is just the earliest signs. When something is, just the earliest part, is just the earliest part. Okay, so that's what we mean by it. When I say something is the tip of the iceberg, it's not the whole picture, rather it is just the tip of the picture. It doesn't show the whole picture. Okay, so take a second, go through it, all of you. It's these are the quotations. Why did I read these two sentences? These are the quotations, these are the quotes. As you can see, there is an apostrophe here, there is an apostrophe till the end. So, okay, so here you need to know what does stealth means, what does under the radar means, what does tip of the iceberg means. When I say tip of the iceberg, it's not the whole picture. That's what we mean by it. Okay, so vaccine can prevent indirect and direct results. That show that that idea show that it's important to understand and prevent the effects of measles, both which especially the ones that are not obvious. And they say, and he continues to say that if the symptoms of measles is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not, the symptoms are not even the whole picture. It is just the earliest things. Okay, all right. So let's have a look at the options. Okay. What is Meena doing? So by saying these sentences, what is Meena doing? Emphasizing the need to recognize the true impact measles can have. What do you guys think? Is he highlighting the importance of understanding the true effects of measles, or is he reinforcing? Reinforcing means strengthening, stressing his concerns about the direction of future research. Has he mentioned the future research anywhere? Blessy Smita, has he mentioned? No. So we can reject that. Demonstrating the support he feels, showing the support he feels for those who treat measles patient. Has he said that? No, nowhere he's talked about supporting people who treat the condition. Last one, expressing the pride he feels, expressing the proud feeling that he has, that measles research has been so influential. Measles research has been such a big deal about that, how influential, how important research this research is. He feels proud. He is proud of it. Is that what is conveyed?
No.
No. So what exactly is conveyed?
A.
The need, how important it is to recognize the obvious and not so obvious signs. So how the true impact, true effect of measles, recognizing that. Okay, so take a second. This is a very important question. I know part C takes a lot of time. So take a second, go through it. Okay, so please go through this material. These are the latest one, and remember the meanings, not only but also. Okay, so please go through these questions later, and if you have any questions, get back to me on this. Okay, so evening we will be discussing listening parting. Okay, all right. So take a second, go through it. Okay, all right. That's it for now. We are already late, so I'm stopping the session here. I will be sending this material. Please go through it, and if you have any questions, get back to me. Evening listening party, that also new material. Okay, all right. Thank you.
ma'am.